A small plastic part has robbed half the power of this vehicle and made it very not fun to drive. Let's find out what it is. Let's get started. This is a 2010 Chevy HHR, but it's not just any HHR, it is the special SS model with a 2-liter turbo in it. We'll take a look at the engine here in a little bit, but it has quite a bit more power than the stock HHR. It's only here to figure out why it had such a large loss of power. It doesn't run very good, and they're curious if something major has gone wrong, something drastic. And we're going to show you how today it was just a plastic piece. We're dealing with plastic parts today, and this one's no exception. Before we dive in to that problem, let's take a look around this really nice SS HHR. Here's the front of this HHR. You can see it does have a little bit of scraping going on the chin spoiler. It is obviously black in color. Some light fogging going on with the headlamps, but nothing too serious. It does have some nice chrome 18s on it, stock Chevy wheels with the yellow calipers. It looks pretty nice actually. So as we go down the side, you can see it's in very good shape. There's a few scrapes here and there, but nothing too serious. And on the back, you can see emblazoned on the bottom right corner, it is the SS model, which denotes it has quite a bit more power, except for right now it doesn't, thanks to a broken plastic piece. Pretty used to seeing fogged up or clouded headlamps, but it's been a while since I've seen tail lamps be that way. But the reverse lights on this one are starting to cloud up pretty heavily. But otherwise nice down that side. Let's go ahead and jump into the interior.
So there we are, ladies and gents. I would love to give you the mileage on here, but that is a dead little cluster back there. And obviously that is something that does need to be addressed. It is obviously not the biggest concern this customer has at the moment. Getting it running well is far more important than actually how many miles it has. But no matter what, let me go ahead and move around, and you can see this dash is in great shape. I'm going to go ahead and turn the key on to accessory mode. And I love this little screen up here. Sorry for the binging. But I love that little infotainment screen. Isn't that just awesome? And it can give lots of good readings when you're going down the road. But go ahead and save his battery. He didn't need any more problems. But as we move around, everything is in really good shape. It is very dark in here. It is dark, and well, dark charcoal, and a little bit of black mixed in as well. But we have a nice little turbo air freshener, and then we've got our radio controls, our HVAC controls. Everything is looking really easy to use, very simple, but it's all in very nice condition. But it's a 5-speed manual transmission in this little HHR. That would make this a blast to drive. But as we move back, you'll see that we've got a little spot for some change. We've got cup holders way down here with our e-brake, and another little whatnot box and cup holder for the rear passenger. As we look at our seats, they are a dark charcoal like everything else in here, and they're pretty comfortable. They've got a little bit of bolster on the side, and we do see that we have the SS Super Sport stitching on the back of the seat. As we look at the door card, we have one major issue going on. The pull is missing for that person. So the passenger is going to get locked in here and have trouble getting out unless I put the window down, or if the driver is ever so chivalrous and goes and opens the door from the outside. But a lot of different grays going on there. We've got a nice silver band below the armrest, and then we've got a different color on the vinyl opposed to the plastic on the upper part. The back seat's in very nice condition. Nice, more charcoal, and again more charcoal. They do make the seat belts a little bit lighter so it's easier to see them, but the headliner's in good shape. Everything's looking good so far. And here we are back at our steering wheel, and you can see we have the Super Sport SS in the center there again. Love that it's there, not just a boring bow tie, but they've made sure to note that this is something special. Nonetheless, let's see what's going on underneath the hood.
Here's our 2.0 turbo, and the airbox lid is missing. It came in that way. I'm not sure where the top is. But the HHR in its stock form would have had around 150, 160 horsepower, somewhere in that range. If you get the SS model, you get an extra 100 horsepower. This one's 260 horsepower, and it's a manual, so which makes it quite a blast to drive. But in its current state, it's running as if it's a stock vehicle without the turbo, because the turbo is not operating properly because of a broken plastic part. We'll show you that here in a minute. How many of you remember the PT Cruiser when it first came out? And it was so cool, lots of people bought them, and now you can't give them away. They're hideous, they're disgusting, no one wants them. But they were notorious for being so hard to work on because of the way the engine bay kind of angled in. You can't get to anything, and it pissed off a lot of mechanics. Luckily, that wasn't the case on the HHR. Take a look. It does angle in a little bit right here, but you still can get to the front of the engine, which wasn't the case on the PT Cruiser. You still got plenty of room to work on it. So they designed it well. They did a good job here. It wouldn't be hard to do much of anything to this vehicle. Just be normal engine work. One thing I really like is the location of the condenser and the radiator. You don't have to rip half the front end apart to get them replaced. It's just a couple of 10mm bolts. Everything's right there underneath this plastic cover. Really, really nice. So Danielson checked for codes. He saw some lean running conditions, several other things going on. He thought, I'll smoke test it for a vacuum leak. And underneath the intake, it was just billowing smoke, really, really bad. So we got to lift this thing in the air to show you what we found. And it was causing issues with the turbo. Let's get this thing in the air. So to throw you guys for a loop, we're going to start backwards and work our way towards the front. Here's our trunk area, nothing going on there. Here's our exhaust, which is all stock, but we do see some colorful springs and suspension things going on with some red springs, has some Bilstein shocks, and this bright yellow. It's kind of like a fixed sway bar. Normally a beam axle like this wouldn't have sway going on in it, but as you can see, it's not solid like a bar of steel. It could flex in between left and right wheel, and in order to mitigate that, they put this kind of a brace sway bar type thing to keep the flex to a minimum for enhanced performance. You see our charcoal canister is easy to get to, really nice. I like that. I'm liking a lot of things on this HHR for repairability. It's nice. So let's take a look at these brakes. They're about 70% remaining. Nothing loose. Check this side. Brakes are good there. The shocks look brand new, so nothing going on there. Nothing loose. Let's go ahead and work our way forward. So here we have our fuel tank. It looks really easy to work on. Doesn't look like a major job to take it down. Maybe you have to move the exhaust out of the way, but unlike the early 90s Camaros where you have to drop the whole axle to get the tank out, this one's not that big of a deal. Our exhaust is intact. Everything's there. I don't see any leaks spraying anywhere from anything. Let's check these wheels here. The brakes are about 60% remaining. CV boots are good. Struts are good. Sway bar links are good. Nothing loose. These tires are definitely, you can tell that it's got some serious power in this car because the tread is kind of light on these tires. Brakes are good. CV boots are good. Sway bar link is good. Nothing loose there. We do see axle shaft seal is kind of a seepage going on there, but that's not really worth tear down yet. Here's our steering rack. I don't see any damage or serious leaks going on. The boots are intact. From under here you can also see where the turbo is. I'm touching it right there. That's the exhaust going straight into the turbo. The turbo's not doing its job right now. It has some serious vacuum leak issues causing it not to operate. Our oil pan is in good shape, nice and dry. And our AC compressor is all intact. I don't see any green stains coming out of it. And our antifreeze is not leaking out of our radiator. Here's our nice intercooler. So what's causing this issue? What's the little plastic piece that's causing it to have half power? It's located right by the starter. Let me show you. You can see two little vacuum lines right there dangling, and there's 2 bolts. That bolts on a plastic vacuum reservoir. Let me show you it. So here's our little vacuum reservoir. It has 2 vacuum nipples. You can see where it bolts to that plate up there. This is a reservoir to operate the wastegate on the turbo. And when Danielson smoke tested it, it was just tons of smoke coming out. The seam has split and it's bad. I currently have it cut open. I want to show you what it looks like on the inside, but this seam was leaking really heavily. You can see the staining of this, the smoke, kind of an oil right through there. It's really pretty bad. So Danielson and I had a great idea. We'll just put a standard vacuum reservoir on it. It should be good to go. Then I thought, no, I bet this isn't just an empty chamber. I bet it's got a valve or something in it. So I cut the old one open, not worried about damaging it because it's already damaged. And I was right. You can see it looks like it's been broken. There's a little rubber diaphragm and a spring there. Definitely got a valve inside of it. It's not just an empty chamber. So let's get this car on the ground and talk about where do we go from here. So this customer got very lucky. It wasn't a burned up turbo like the Buick Encores. They all burn up their turbos. The turbo's fine, just the vacuum reservoir to operate it has failed and not allowing it to engage properly. So just a cheap little plastic box took a 260 horsepower car down to 150 horsepower just that fast. It will still drive, but it drives really rough, and I'd be scared to get on the highway with it. It had very, very low power. We did see that the instrument cluster is not working, but the customer said, before we jump into looking what's wrong there, I want to know that I have a good engine, something major hasn't gone wrong. Here's another crazy thing. I thought this is a Chevy. There should be parts everywhere for these. I physically paid for at 3 different places to buy one of these. I have the GM part number, everything lined up. It says in stock. I sent the money, and it never failed. A few hours later, you get an email back. I tried GM Parts Giant, a whole bunch of different GM parts stores, even Parts Geek and stuff, and you get an email back that says, we don't have any, even though we said we did. We have no idea if we're ever going to have any because they've been discontinued. There are no more. I tried another place and another place. A third time, the same email came back. We don't have these, even though it said on their site, 1 in stock, ready to ship. People need to update their inventory for sure. I finally got lucky because this is used on a Chevy Cruze. It's also used on Saabs. Saab 9.3, same reservoir, same GM part number, 100% identical. And I found a Saab store. Just kind of an obscure Saab store. It said they had one in stock. I ordered one, and I got an email that says, your part is shipped. We had one left. After this, there are no more. Why is that so hard to find? Maybe because it's a special model, it's an SS, I don't know. I got one ordered, it's going to get it fixed. Now we can contact the customer and see what they want to do with their instrument cluster, knowing that they don't need a new engine or something major isn't bad. It's just a piece of plastic. And by the way, this little piece of plastic is $150. That's a GM price. So that's crazy. Plastic in the wild, if you just throw a piece of plastic on the ground, they say it'll be there for 50 years. For some reason, when you bolt one to an engine in a hot engine environment, plastic doesn't last very long. It's weird with the newer cars, they're going more and more and more plastic, this black cheap plastic on everything, the oil pan, the valve cover, just coolant necks, radiators, everything. And we see it frequently failing, not even making it to 100,000 miles, and it's cracking and breaking. I don't know why they keep going to this stuff. Maybe because it's cheap and they don't care, but I've seen so many seams where they've made expansion tanks or vacuum tanks or different things that hold fluids or air or vacuum. They fail. It's very, very common. This was even a problem back with the Buick 3800, the bulletproof engine that I tried to push to you guys. The little coolant elbows underneath the alternator. Why did they make those out of black plastic? It wouldn't have added but maybe 50 cents or $1 to the car price to make them out of aluminum or metal, and it would have lasted so much longer. I really don't like the way things are going with plastic. I just want to do a video for you guys to show this really cool SS HHR. They're actually quite quick, a neat little vehicle, and how a cheap plastic box basically almost shut this thing down. It's really, really crazy. So if you're curious what kind of tools we use to work on this HHR or any other car in the shop, check our Amazon affiliates link in the description below. We get a small cut if you purchase anything there. A lot of the tools we use are for sale. And we appreciate it when you purchase something there. And make sure to hit the subscribe button because we have so many more cool videos to come. Thanks for watching.